All right. Hello, Marjorie. Thank you for joining us today. So I'd like to welcome you to Leveraging Marketing Cloud Engagement to Produce Positive Customer-Driven Outcomes, a panel with 4 amazing Marketing Cloud experts. So the goal of today's session is to hear from leaders in the Ohana, what it takes to thrive in your role, to tips and tricks to maximizing your Marketing Cloud investment. But before we get to introductions, I do want to take a moment to thank the Marjorie sponsors, because without you all, we wouldn't have such an incredible event to share. All right, so now for introductions. I am Ashley Anger, a Marketing Operations Manager and lover of Marketing Cloud, and I will be your host. If throughout the chat you have questions, please post them. And then if there's someone specific you'd like to direct it to, we'll save time at the end for live Q&A. And you'll see on the right-hand side of your screen, there's a little Q&A section. Please try to post any questions in there so we can see them easily. And then with me, I have these 4 lovely panelists with a wide range of experience and background, and I'll have each of them introduce themselves. So we'll do name, company, and role, how you were introduced to Salesforce Marketing Cloud. And Jenna, did you want to go ahead and start?
Sure. Hi, my name is Jenna Matson, and I am a founder of howtosfmc.com, or the Slack community of How to SFMC. And how I found Marketing Cloud. Eons ago, I was working in with a very slow ESP that was sitting on top of Marketing Cloud when Marketing Cloud used to have a reseller program. And they were very, very slow, and I wanted to go faster. I wanted my emails to hit inboxes with some speed. So I started poking around at the back end and saw ExactTarget and discovered Marketing Cloud, and I've been here ever since. Fell in love. So thank you.
I'm Zachary Norman. I'm a Marketing Cloud developer with Sercante. I started as an email developer in ExactTarget, and just kind of have been in the tool ever since.
Hi, I'm Victor Jimenez, and I'm working in Indra as Solution Architect. And how do I get into Salesforce Marketing Cloud? Well, I'm a graphic designer and a marketeer, and life guide me to here to Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and I just simply love it.
And I'm Kirsten Schlau. I lead the Salesforce Marketing Cloud practice here at Sercante. How was I introduced? Well, I mean, it was quite some time. Email marketing really was just starting, so it was a bit of, hey, here's a tool, can you pick it up? But where I think got into specifically Marketing Cloud actually was with Zachary Norman. We actually had the pleasure of working together when we were much younger and maybe more carefree and doing crazy things. We did a migration over from one system to another. I think it was both our first, and it was probably one of the first times I'd really touched Marketing Cloud as well. So now thinking back on that was pretty bold of me, maybe him, and I just it'll be fine. This is going to be great. Now I know all the ways that you can not have them go so right. So sometimes ignorance is definitely bliss.
Well, and because of that experience, I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun things to chat about today as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for those intros. I'm excited to dive right into questions. So our first question, what features have improved since you first started using Marketing Cloud? Jenna, I'd love to hear from you on this to start, and then everyone else, feel free to chime in as well.
Well, since I go back to the ExactTarget days, pretty much everything has improved since I first started. But there are 2 parts of the platform that I like to point out that have improved the most, and that is probably Journey Builder, which is now Marketing Cloud Engagement, I believe. Ashley, correct me if I'm wrong with that. But probably Journey Builder has come the furthest along since its introduction back in 2015. Whenever I was betaing Journey Builder, it didn't have any of the bells and whistles. You had to use Automation Studio to do any sort of journey pathing and any sort of data leveraging or movement or accessing another media type or anything like that. So being able to put in activities like engagement activities or decision splits is just enormous. And the ease of use has really come a long way. So you can use Journey Builder almost independently now, so on its own. So it's a great tool. That and probably Marketing Cloud Connect. The connector was called the connector back in the day. Now it's a lot easier to use. It's kind of just a plug and play feature nowadays. So it's come a long way. It's a lot easier to use so that you can access your data from the core products.
I love that. Does anyone else have anything to add to those two features or tools?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. Those are two big ones. I even think the user interface has absolutely improved. I think there's still a long way to go. There's always improvement, but definitely a great thing. And I think it's really great because you really for the longest time it was email is what you could do, and email is still such a critical piece of it. But now you can really do a lot of that cross-channel journey orchestration that you couldn't do back in the day.
Zach, Victor, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
If anyone remembers programs from ExactTarget, I would say Automation Studio is miles better than that. I'll probably talk about it all this panel, but I love how with Automation Studio you can automate almost anything, make anything into a process that can kind of run and take some of the tasks that you would have to do every day away from you. That would, I think, be the thing I think has improved the most.
All right. Well, thank you for those answers. I love such the wide variety. For question 2, Zach and Victor, I'd love to hear what skills you feel would be important to have when administering Marketing Cloud.
Well, I say that you have to have a heart of marketeer. I met some people that I wanted to talk them Marketing Cloud, but they don't have this marketer heart. So I will say that you need to have this first of all, and then understand the Marketing Cloud. I think practice a lot, and that would say that the best useful skill that you need.
Yeah, I would say to you that it's very important to have an understanding of kind of how all the data connects between the different clouds and what data flows, what directions, and what data is available within each system. Very important to know that for when you're pulling out sort of segmentation or analytics, driving actions from sort of that data, actioning off that data, understanding your user roles, permission sets, kind of controlling access to things that you wouldn't necessarily want every user to be able to get into.
I love that. I love that there was a technical side of it as well as like the heart that it takes to do something like this. So great call outs, and especially on the database for sure. All right, so cruising along, Kirsten, I would really love to, given your professional background and the leading Marketing Cloud efforts that you do, what are 3 recommendations that you would give most organizations in terms of their usage of Marketing Cloud today?
I think the first one would be, yes, it's exciting and we want to do all the things, but let's first start out with the fundamentals. You really need to be able to crawl before you can walk, and then of course run. So make sure you're doing the basics correctly and doing them as best as possible. If you try to maybe take on too much, I think your delivery is going to be a little bit diluted. And when I mean delivery, yes, of course, delivery from we're building emails and maybe they're going out the door without errors, but also just like the overall strategy, and making sure that you get those basics, those fundamentals done like well before you take on the next piece of the pie. And then also number 2, I think would be also make sure that you're maximizing everything that's available for you today. We always want to do, and, you know, maybe tackle and take advantage of the next shiny object, whether it's personalization or, you know, CDP Genie that's now available. But really like make sure that you're fully maximizing your investment, especially, you know, because you're probably going to have to make a business case. And so you want to be able to show like, this is everything that we're doing. We're really maximizing all that we can do. But if we're able to go ahead and turn on personalization, for example, that's going to give us X lift in revenue, stuff like that. That really makes your business case of getting approval and funding that much more easier. But you have to start and make sure that you really are using the things and using them well. And then my third, I think, recommendation would be, it's going to be a little bit contradictory of, yes, it's important to get things right, but there is this idea of having like iterative improvements, right? It's okay to move forward and be using the things and still learning and optimizing. At the same time, you don't want to try to get so hyper focused on making everything perfect that you never end up taking advantage of other features and functionalities in the system. Even thinking about, I don't know, top of mind, like email templates, right? Like email templates, there's so many different environments. And so, yes, you want to get that email template as perfect as possible, but there's always going to be exceptions. And so sometimes like focusing on the 90%, focusing on that positivity of that it's rendering, you know, 100% and 90% of devices versus the 10. Those are going to be things that really are going to allow you to leap forward. And people understand, recipients understand that, you know, things aren't always perfect, but if you're trying to make them perfect, I think that's important. So I would say those are my 3 recommendations. Yes, I realize that there is a little bit contradictory of the 2.
No, but those are awesome recommendations. I love that. Zach, did you have any additional recommendations that you'd like to share as well?
I could provide some more specific things that I like to do. I always like to enable the send log. I think it's an often overlooked feature, but for those of you who don't know, it's a data extension essentially that will capture a record for every send that goes out of your account. And it comes kind of pre-configured with some basic fields, but you can add your own fields and kind of capture things that wouldn't necessarily be captured by the tracking in Marketing Cloud. And then you can use that data to sort of inform different parts of your tracking. Maybe you're capturing segments, or you're capturing some kind of like specific data about a campaign, coupon codes, things like that. And then you can always refer back to that data, where normally it might be lost if your segment's refreshed, or if you overwrite that data extension. It gives you sort of a permanent way to capture some of that stuff that's, you know, a little easier to work with than sort of the raw tracking data, or trying to recreate that circumstances where that data existed.
That reminds you of when I started, the first time I created data views, just because I couldn't figure out how to get to the information that I needed. And I realized I didn't have data views that I could query off of. So that was interesting, but I would definitely recommend that too, moving forward. Jenna, did you have anything that you wanted to add, or Victor?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I do. Thank you. So speaking of data views and tracking, always remember, if you're not going to track, there's no point in enabling the campaign. So tracking is most important. So if you start at the end of the campaign and work your way backwards, think about what you want to do, your goals, and work your way to the beginning. It'll be easier to configure, and you're doing things in a dedicated manner rather than just throwing things out to see what sticks. It's always good to A/B test, but make sure you have a goal in mind. And then also, you don't have to do everything all at once. Yes, you want to maximize your use of the platform. Make sure you're using every portion that you're paying for, that you have enabled. However, it takes time to really build out the platform to get it to running at optimal speed, to say. So you want to take your time and kind of ease into things and test and test some more. And remember to be dedicated with your testing though. So.
Yeah, in fact, I will add the IP warm-up. Don't forget about it. It's very, very important. Blacklist, it's become a headache in the moment. So, as Jenna told, uh, take your time. Uh, don't worry about your 1 million contacts database, but IP warm-up. Just warm up.
Yes, IP warm-up is actually the introduction that I had to Marketing Cloud. So quickly I realized that there was a lot to it. It was not just sending emails, but there was a science behind it as well. So that was fun, but for my process-driven mind, I really enjoyed that. So excellent call out there as well. And then what is one thing that you wish people knew about Marketing Cloud? And it can be anything. And I'd love to hear from each of you on this one as well.
I'll go. No one knows what they're doing. Everybody's just experimenting. Go for it. Don't be scared. Yes, you're handling data. Yes, you're sending messages that could impact people and impact your brand. But go for it. Try new things, experiment, and test once again. So, yeah, don't be scared. Go in head first. And that's not really definitive to Marketing Cloud. That's really for your career, but you know.
I guess I'll go and say I think sometimes folks in Marketing Cloud are probably pretty misunderstood, a little bit lonely in the sense of like, they're very much marketers, right? They understand the strategies, but they're also very highly technical. So I think a lot of the times they become the translators really between marketing and IT. And so that can sometimes be a bit frustrating. And, you know, they're really smart folks. So I think, you know, just trying to support them however they can be, right, is really important. Yes, there's some really great functionality with Marketing Cloud now from a drag and drop perspective that you don't have to be super technical, and that's amazing. But really, you know, when you're buying Marketing Cloud, someone used this phrase the other day, and I'm going to reuse it, but I will not take credit for it, saying like, you know, Marketing Cloud's like a bicycle, but it can actually turn into a rocket ship, right? Like you can absolutely use it for the most basic things. It can get you from point A to point B. You can go down the street, or if you want to go to the moon, you absolutely can do that, but you're going to need an astronaut. And sometimes your Marketing Cloud users are very much those astronauts.
That's an awesome comparison, Kirsten. Victor, did you have anything you'd like to add as well? And then Zach, if you'd like to go after.
Yeah, practice a lot. I will say that marketing is something that you need to do, as Ashley told us. Yeah, you can go to the moon, but you have to practice. You have to make queries. You have to make your data. You have to make everything fine. You have to practice a lot. You don't need a certification to make this. You really need to have the will to go for it, to go for Marketing Cloud, to study, to make everything fine. You need to practice and practice a lot.
Two things that I would encourage people to kind of look into is, again, I mentioned it earlier, Automation Studio. With that and a little bit of SQL understanding, you can automate just about anything, building segments, reporting, getting files in and out of Marketing Cloud. It's all, you know, as long as you can dream it, you can probably do it. And then I would just say that AMP script is way more powerful than most people think. It's more than just kind of personalization scripts. You can pull in, conditional statements. You can pull in data, live data at time of send. So maybe that's a cart, or maybe it's, some kind of events that you're updating in a table somewhere. You can insert data and modify data in data extensions with AmpScript. So you can have data inserted into data extensions at time of send. Lots of things you can do with AmpScript, and people often overlook it.
Sounds like a few key skills will take you far with Marketing Cloud. All right, and we do have one more formal question, and then we'll head over to Q&A. So Victor, I want to start with you on this one. What tips would you share with those in our audience who are interested in learning Marketing Cloud or just starting out?
I will say, don't go for the certification right away. Go to experiment, experience. Go to learn about Marketing Cloud, sender profile, IP warm-up, the setup of Marketing Cloud, and go with a partner. Go with someone who knows about it. The community is going to help. They are going to tell you what to do, where you can find the documentation that you are looking for. But go for it, and don't be scared. Just go for it. It's not going to explode. It's not going. You're not going to turn off the switch for Marketing Cloud. Just go for it, and I think that's it.
I love that. Definitely getting hands-on. Jenna, what would you say? What tip would you have for those in our audience?
I'm going to echo what Victor said. Don't worry about your certifications right off the bat. Your certifications are nice to have. They're not going to get you a job right out the gate. I love this question because it's asked all the time. But get on Trailhead, start learning, reading your, going through the different trails. Start, pick up every book that you can pick up. Marketing Cloud for Dummies by Chester Bullock, AmpScript Guide by Elliot Harper and Adam Spriggs, and then my favorite, which is probably Zach's favorite too, which is Automating the Marketing Cloud by Greg Gifford, who is also a founder of howtosfmc.com. And get involved with the community, ask questions, do not be afraid of looking stupid. We all look stupid. We all make mistakes. We all do really silly things. And then start applying for a job. Look for that entry-level position. We are in desperate need of Marketing Cloud developers, marketers, any sort of skill set that you have. Just apply. If you see entry level, just apply. People understand that you don't have the skill set. We understand that you need to have somebody to have purchased the platform in order for you to have learned, to be able to access it, to be able to learn on it. So just to start applying for jobs, you will get one. Just having that interest in learning Marketing Cloud will give you entryway. And then you will have the opportunity to learn in an environment that gives you access, or learn in a place like a partner community that gives you access, or a partner association that gives you access to the hands-on experience of the Marketing Cloud, because that's going to get you everything you need.
Awesome advice. Zach, what would you think?
I'm going to echo what a lot of people have said. I think just becoming a part of the community is really important. There's a lot of passionate people out there that will be more than willing to help you. They're all eager to share their experience with you. Learn some basic HTML, SQL, SQL, take you far in terms of getting segmentation, the email part, the targeting part. I think there's a tremendous amount of documentation, blog articles, all kinds of things. Even YouTube. YouTube is an excellent resource. There's some people who have created some incredible content on YouTube explaining how to do things, how things interact. So just get out there and just start doing it.
Kirsten, do you echo what they've shared before? Anything you'd like to add to that as well?
I would say one thing that I'm going to borrow, I believe, from Tony from the keynote on day number 1, was around the idea of asking people if you can shadow them, asking people if you can help on something, even if it's for free, right? So identify those folks, within your network. Don't be afraid to maybe introduce yourself to someone on LinkedIn. Say, hey, is it possible the next time you're doing X, Y, and Z, I could watch you? Or we could review what you built. Or is there an email that I might be able to help build for you? Again, one that might be, lower risk, right? But everyone needs to start. So again, that was, I think, a really interesting idea that was brought up at the keynote, because as Jenna mentioned, there's only so much you can do in the trailheads without actually getting hands-on experience. And so if you don't have a demo org, a sandbox, it's a little difficult. But even at, like, I think at minimum, asking folks to shadow them and watch them, I think is a really another great way to see in the interface as well. So that would be the only other thing I would add to what everyone else said, which I think was some really good stuff.
Awesome. I agree as well. And thank you all for sharing that. So in addition to what the panelists have just shared, I do want to make sure that you're aware of some of these amazing Marketing Cloud resources. So How to SFMC has an incredible community on Slack. I love it. For a lot of those technical questions I was trying to figure out on my own, a lot of the SQL questions I had also, I found myself navigating to that Slack community. The Spot, which is a super well-known blog on things all things MarTech, and they have a Slack community as well, and a job board. So if you're looking for those jobs that Jenna had mentioned, definitely keep your eyes open there. And then, of course, Trailhead for those training modules, cert prep when you're ready, and then being able to understand a lot of that knowledge before you're able to get hands-on is also helpful. So we have just over 10 minutes left. I do want to move into our live Q&A. So let's take a peek at what we've got so far. Ooh, great question from Donna. What is your most memorable mistake? And I know we've all made them, so I'd love to hear from everyone on the panel for this question. Jenna,
I'll go first. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, Kirsten, you go.
I was like, I'll be the first dodo to share my dodo experience. So I actually was reliving this the other day. I met up with an old colleague, and I've been doing email for quite some time. I felt pretty confident. I felt pretty competent. And long story short, I was supposed to be working with a developer to code the email. And they were taking too long, in my opinion, and I wanted to get it out the door. So I was said, you know what, I'm just going to do everything. I'm going to code the email. I'm going to do all the things. I'm just going to send it out. I've done this before. I can do it quickly. It'll be fine. I didn't have anyone double QA what I was doing, and I accidentally sent the email to the wrong audience. So it was supposed to go to, I think, like maybe 2,000 people, and it went to more like 30,000 people. So that was a big, like, oh my gosh, you're an idiot, type of thing. Luckily, the client was very understanding, and our client services person at the time definitely took one for me, and just sort of said it's okay. So that was definitely my, I think, biggest dodo moment that I'm aware of, at least.
I love that, and I feel like so many people can relate to that also. Jenna, did you want to go next?
The one I always like to talk about that I always call attention to was actually during those Express years, whenever I was sending from that third-party ESP that was sitting on top of Exact Target. So it's not exactly a Marketing Cloud boo-boo, but I've made lots of those over the years too, and I'll be happy to share some of those. But my biggest blunder is I brought down my agency's internal email network, by accidentally testing myself 2 million emails. And they were dynamic, populated with dynamic images. And back in the day, before movable ink existed, that was some code that took a long time to generate and process. And so it brought down our whole internal email systems. Fortunately, a lot of our clients still picked up the phone and called back then instead of using emails. So not a lot of them knew that we were down for 3 days while we rebuilt the network systems. But yeah, so that's probably my biggest blunder. But I have sent lots of journeys live before they were supposed to go live. I have, I've seen a decimal. The worst mistake I ever saw was, there were 2 of them. The worst mistake, and I was not involved in the first one. The worst mistake I ever saw, there was a decimal point that was moved in a promotional email that gave people $1 off rather than 10 cents off. So that was an expensive boo-boo. But fortunately they had low open rates, so it didn't really hurt too bad. And then and this goes back to, there was this was on a client that I was sending emails for. I'm not a copywriter, so I wasn't responsible for the choice of the subject line, but there was a subject line that went out on Veterans Day that said something like go MIA with this brand. And that was not well received. So we had to do some oops messaging around that. So, but yeah, so my biggest blunder was breaking my internal company's emails, probably. So you will make mistakes. It's okay. Most of the time you're not saving lives with our marketing messages. So.
Love that. And that is true. We love what we do. Victor, how about you?
Yeah, it's something that it's more technical, not more for sending. I broke contact builder, so I just deleted some information that it doesn't have to be deleted, and then validation in Marketing Cloud just went to an infinity loop. The Marketing Cloud didn't found that information, and then just it just broke. I opened a ticket to Salesforce, and they help us to make this validation to make it better, and it just it was fixed. And yep, you can broke Marketing Cloud. Yep, you can make it.
I love that. Zach, what do you have?
Oh, the classic test in the subject line, because you forgot to take test out of your test subject line. Sending an A/B test, sending both emails to the entire audience. That was a good one. I think my favorite was needing to make a change to an email I'd already scheduled and not canceling the first email. It used to be a little more complicated to schedule them and to cancel them. It's luckily very easy now. It's easy to see when an email is scheduled instead of it sort of disappearing into the void and you don't know if it's going to go out or not. But yeah, I think the one that stings the most was the test clearly marked in the subject line.
Yeah, that'll
Classic.
do it. It is. It just reminds me, it's not necessarily a big mistake or anything, but I've built a number of journeys that I didn't save before I closed the window. So having to restart all of those over again is something that I feel like is maybe a habit at this point. I don't know. I just need the extra practice, but definitely something else to think about.
Ashley, I'll second that one. Or building a journey and then realizing you forgot a step at the very beginning and you've got like all these waterfalls in place now and everything else, and you have to go back and start from the beginning to add in that one step. So I feel your pain there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't see any other questions in the Q&A chat. So definitely feel free to take a minute and drop any other questions you have for our panel. Jenna, there was an ask to put the titles of the 3 books that you mentioned in chat. So if you want to send those over, that would be awesome. I know those are 3 really great books. And we've still got a couple minutes, so happy to take a few more questions. And then we do have a little surprise at the end as well.
I have a 4th book too. I have a sequel book. The Language of SQL by Larry Rothov is excellent to read if you're learning SQL for the Marketing Cloud, because it teaches you the 3 main SQL styles and describes their differences, but it also helps you understand what a data view is, what a true data view is, because those are truly what data views are. And it helps you understand why you have to start with the select statement and things like that whenever you're working in the Marketing Cloud. So I do recommend that book as well. And I believe there's an email going out that I can add the four books now too. So I will get those added to the email that goes out.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. I don't see any other questions in the Q&A, but I did want to thank our panelists for joining. It was so great to hear all of the knowledge and things that you shared with us. Also, I did want to announce that before we wrap for the day, we do have some special swag winners. So we've selected a few active participants from today's session, and we will be able to give some items from the Trailblazer store. So today's winners are Erin Reed and Jessica Lewis. So you will each be receiving an email with more details on how to claim your prize. But with that, I'd just like to say thank you all for joining us today, and we will see you tomorrow for day 3. Bye, everyone.